Welcome to the monthly astrology snapshot. My name is Paula Shaw and I'm here to just go through the main astrology themes for this lunar month, which begins at the new moon in Aquarius, which is also Lunar New Year, on the 31st of January or the 1st of February, depending where you are in the world. This new moon is in Aquarius and there's the potential for, committing to some really long-term goals. It's conjunct Saturn. This new moon, as I said already, it's the new moon for Lunar New Year, and that just means we have this big potential for a boost of energy, of beginnings. But I'll go through that more in a moment. First, I just want to go over where we've come from, because we are truly moving through some of the most incredible astrology that I've seen in my lifetime, that many of us have seen in our lifetimes, with regard to the main themes being the breaking down of old structures, old power structures, old paradigms. All of our institutions are being challenged, and the astrological configuration that we look to that speaks to that in the last 12 months is the Saturn-Uranus square. This is a very challenging dynamic between the planet Saturn and the planet Uranus. So these two planets have very different energy signatures. Saturn is about stabilizing. Saturn is about maintaining. Saturn is about conserving and tradition and structure that really holds life together. Saturn is like that wise elder that comes in and says some hard truths and asks you, is that really, really working? And it is. It's that traditional approach to life that, stabilizes life. Whereas Uranus is all about freedom. Uranus wants to shake it up, wants to disrupt us out of our familiar patterns that may be becoming stagnant and holding us back. So you can see when you have these two planets in a square, that is going to be this push-pull. There's going to be great friction between freedom, Uranus, and maintaining and conserving Saturn. So they came into play last year, kicked off in January, came back in again for another challenging square in the middle of the year, and then not the last, I'm sure many astrologers wish it were the last, but the third exact square on Christmas Day. And I noticed so many people had very either isolating or just challenging, not always bad. I really want to, share with you guys, when I'm talking about things, I personally try to get out of duality with it, out of the good versus bad. Challenging doesn't always have to be sadness, bad, depression. It can just be those moments where life's just squeezing in on us and pushing us in ways where, sometimes we need that structure, that compression to really grow and evolve. And the way I see it, this time for humanity as a collective, we're really being asked to wake up and grow up and shake it up and shift our perception and our values and what really, really, really matters. So we're coming out of the beginning of 2022 being in strong Capricorn themes, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So Saturn's been winning, you could say. Saturn's been pulling us in, making us reassess, and really making us go, how is this all working? So we had Venus, also Venus and Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. We've had, in the last few days, 4 planets plus the moon for a couple of days in Capricorn. So it's just this real, condensing in of this energy. However, Uranus has turned direct in the last couple of weeks, and Uranus will start to get some traction this year. And the good thing about that is it could activate other aspects of what Uranus represents, which is innovation, technology, solutions, the brotherhood of man coming in with that Aquarian energy and really starting to bring in ways out of this current situation. But I will share, and I'll share it every month, that we do have in October another square between these planets. It's not exact, but they do go to the same degree, which is going to reactivate that. And no one, I mean, I can't predict what will happen, but we can speak to the themes that there will be this potential for this challenging dynamic that could play out in the collective. You know, the pandemic could reactivate, the governments could really be worried that it reactivates and bring in some more of that Saturnian conserving energy. It could bring about people just really being tired of Saturn and Uranus energies coming through, where people are wanting to be free. So it could get quite volatile towards the end of the year. But for now, we're coming out of that pattern. It's releasing. And we've been moving, like I said, through this Venus-Mercury retrograde. But Venus now is moving forwards. Uranus is moving forwards. Uranus will hopefully get traction, and Venus will start to get her power back. She's gone through an underworld journey, which was extremely challenging for many people that I spoke to with regard to relationships. Now, you've got to remember, Venus isn't just about romance. Venus rules all of our relationships. Venus is responsible for how we all connect with each other and love and support and, you know, provide goodness to each other. It's about abundance. Venus recognizes that you can't be successful without each other. So there's a level of love connected to Venus that's really far greater than romantic love. So much more. And with Venus going through her retrograde in Capricorn, so this is still this contracted energy we've been moving through at the beginning of this year, that is an opportunity for us all to stop and reassess what relationships are important to us, which ones do support us, what relationships are holding us back, and to go with this bigger process of restructuring and reviewing and reassessing what relationships really mean to us all. We are moving into new paradigms. Those old institutions of till death do us part, of family, they are breaking down. But again, that doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't even have to be good. It just is. And if you have been challenged by your relationships, or you've been having the experience of Mercury retrograde where miscommunication, confusion, not being able to really make sense, trust in the process. There'll be a purpose to that, where you get a chance to just stop and let things play out and wait for the cycles to move again. So Venus is now retrograde, but she's still picking up steam. And then we have Mercury go direct just after this new moon. And once Mercury and Venus are moving forwards, things will start to move in a new direction. We will hopefully get clarity, communication can open up, relationships can start to heal and move forwards. And I'm going to bring in another element around Venus and relationships. This month we will have Venus and Mars moving into a conjunction. So they're coming together. While Venus was retrograde, Mars was moving up, and in some astrology lineages, Mars is seen as the masculine and Venus is the feminine. And it's like the star-crossed lovers, I've heard people refer to it as, in the sky. So Venus was coming down in this retrograde pattern to meet Mars, and they're moving together. But Mars is faster, so he's now, that Venus is moving forwards, he's catching up, and they will journey together for like a couple of months. Like there's going to be this beautiful dance between these two planets, and even at a point coming up in the next few weeks, they will be trine Uranus. So again, more themes around this revolutionizing relationships and how we relate to each other, how men and women interact, and beyond men and women. You know, Uranus is it's beyond gender, it's non-binary. It's this whole, how do we love each other? How do we relate? How do we, it is very much about romance. So be open to this energy signature shifting in February, and be open to really new and different ways of being in your relationships. Maybe you are open to having very different conversations with everybody. Maybe you're finding breakthrough solutions to old problems. You know, we've just come out of all these heavy transits where the rose-colored glasses have been ripped off, and we've had to look at those hard truths and get real. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, not yet. See what comes this month in these paradigms of innovation and the new ways of being in partnership. I have seen so many people step out of traditional approaches to love and marriage and family and embracing these incredibly inspiring new ways. You know, I feel like if we can allow this heavy Capricorn, patriarchal, patrilineal, top-down, vertical, hierarchical structures to break down, what will be revealed is not chaos, but new, exciting ways of being in all of these institutions of family, religion, finance, money, education, the whole story, governance. You know, it's equally scary and exciting. It's quite exhilarating. I feel we are truly living through a turn of an age, a complete shift in the fabric of society. And when, you know, you look at your personal patterns within the greater patterns, which the snapshot really is about the collective story, not really about individual horoscopes, because it gets so complex at the personal level that you really need to know your own chart. And even if you do, it's still like this incredible dance. Our human brains aren't capable at this point of reading the complexity of all the moving parts in a birth chart, which is why some people will be going, this is the greatest time of my life, and others will be, this is the worst time. But I like to just give, you know, there's a storm coming. How will you navigate that? Now, another really big energy this lunar month will be that once Mercury turns direct on the 5th of February, we will have all planets moving forwards. And this will be for almost 3 months. It does happen pretty much every year, and it's not always for the same amount of time where we will have all planets moving direct. But this year it's longer than normal. I looked back, it's the longest one that I could see in the last 10 years. So in context of the heavy starts of the Capricorn deep restructuring of all the Saturnian restriction, this could be quite a shocking energy potentially. Not negative, don't think of this as a bad thing, but just imagine, you know, like the rubber band. I always see retrogrades as someone pulling the rubber band back. It's looking like nothing's happening, but you know, you've got to pull back to get the tension to release. And when all planets are moving direct, it's being released, and we can't control the trajectory at this point. So this new moon, which I'll get to in a moment, is a potent moment where you're getting ready and you want to make sure you've got your intentions and your sense of who you're going to be through these times really set in your body. Of course it can change. I'm not saying it's locked in, but to be really intentional with how you want to be, who you want to be at this new moon is going to be really supported, because this new moon, like I said, it's conjunct Saturn. So remember, I've been talking about all this restriction and these boundaries, and Saturn being the wise elder saying, how's it really working for you? Saturn conjunct this new moon, which is also Lunar New Year. Okay, there's no coincidences in all of this. is this moment to stop and think about where you want this to go. What's your bigger trajectory? If you, and with Saturn being there, you want to make sure you're tuning into things you can commit to or vow to or intend and seed in, that you're willing to work for, that you're devoted to, and that you'll be dedicated to. That it's the long game. You want the long game, because when we think about all this energy, the big release of the rubber band, think that the intention is going through the field. You can't change it once it's going, but you can get the aim right now at this new moon. Then you can lean into this time and let the energy take you from a really embodied, grounded place within yourself, because you know that what you're working towards, you're willing to show up for. A little tip that just came through: have something in your mind of someone that inspires you, something you can look up to, or something that you can come back to when it gets hard this year, that you can really go, no, I am on this mission. This new moon is an opportunity to seed in something about your life, like a life goal. There's and something that will carry you through this year. This year is a very different energy to last year. I know I've mentioned in October this Saturn-Uranus square, but mid-year, and if you read my free ebook, the 2022 Astrology Forecast, you will see that I talk about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction coming up. So that's in early April. This is a time where spiritual awakenings can happen. We can go on pilgrimage. I feel travel will open up a bit more. And we can just have this big expansion. We're coming into expansion. We're coming out of contraction into expansion. But this is a time that we could also get, like Neptune can be quite connected with delusion as well in the negative. And Jupiter can expand whatever it touches. Well, it does. So we could even find ourselves being a little bit too excited. So again, this new moon, in context of all these bigger cycles, is an important time to really feel into your body, really feel into what's true, and really think about who you want to be in this life. I know it's a big thing, but who do you want to be? What matters to you? What are your values? The North Node has just moved into Taurus. We had the North Node in Gemini, which was making us think about how we communicate. It was just en masse online courses, lots of data, lots of information. I'm like, whoa, I've got all this data about the pandemic and vaccines, and what do I think? Whereas now we're moving into a North Node collective story for a year and a half in Taurus. Taurus is about resources, it's about the earth, it's embodiment, and it's about values, our personal values, how we value things and what we value. So this new moon is a time to get really in touch with what sustains you and what your personal values are. Seated in, it's Lunar New Year, which is the kicking off of a new calendar for cultures that observe the lunar cycles. And it's connected to the Northern Hemisphere's springtime. So it's about renewal. And so I like to feel into the millions, if not billions, of people that will be celebrating the releasing of the previous year and the beginning of the new. So you can harness this energy at this new moon and really allow yourself to step into something new and really ride these waves of energy and thank older traditional Saturn for supporting you to really get some traction in what you're seeding in. So then we have the full moon, which will be on the 16th, 17th of February, depending where you are in the world. And this full moon is in Leo, and Leo is quite a dramatic archetype. It's very creative, it's heart-focused. Leo loves to shine in its highest expression. In its negative, it can be, the king, queen that is nobody else can shine but me. But with this new full moon, I noticed three key themes. One was the expansion and the creation energy of Leo. The second was the destiny, because this full moon will be square the karmic node. So again, we're bringing in this new, freshly North Node, South Node moving into Taurus, Scorpio, and this will be square. So it's a bit of a challenging aspect, which again we can harness, but there can be some very karmic, fated experiences, because this full moon has quite an amplified, dramatic energy to it, quite heightened actually. And also healing. This full moon has a healing, self-love component. So there's a few moving parts, but you can find yourself in this time. And I recommend working with releasing trauma that stops you from really experiencing self-love, or releasing things that block your heart. You know, compassion, you know, really real empathy, real connection with each other, and the fact that we are all going through this. I work with people all over the planet, and every day the last 2 years has been such a shift where I'm sitting with people in random countries that I haven't even visited, and they're having the same experience of this pandemic, of the fears, of the restrictions, and it has been awful, and yet really forced me to feel this sense of connection in a way I understood, but now I know it. I feel like we're more human now. I feel like we're more recognizing that we are really connected. And in the coming years, with the innovations to come, we are going to be really, I feel, forced to work together. This is the energy of Aquarius, and we are moving into more of an Aquarian time, and that is about the brotherhood of man, or the sisterhood of woman, or the whatevers, but really humanity connecting and seeing that we aren't separate, and that what happens over here does affect each other, and not in some idealistic way, but as a hard truth. And that if we want to evolve as a species, we got to figure it out, and we're going to be forced. And that is what we're seeing has already kicked off in the field. So again, just one last piece on the full moon. It is heightened. So have a plan for yourself to channel this energy, work with it. If you're a creative, really have an outlet. You know, this is a moment to feel into places where you can shine more, where you can have more confidence, have more self-love, unconditional love, compassion, generosity, kindness. You know, this is a moment to really go to the next level. And just remember, you know, so just keep in mind this month goes from like contraction to expansion, and just really make sure you allow yourself a space to expand, but staying connected and centered and grounded at the same time. So just be mindful at that full moon. Emotions can be heightened. People can be really dramatic. There could be rash decisions, karmic stuff playing out. But for you personally, to take some time out, work with your creations. And the last piece I really want to share with you guys is the sun will move into Pisces on the 20th of Feb. And I wanted to talk about this because, you know, it's an interesting month with the contraction to expansion patterns. And this is the last week of February. There's a lighter energy. It feels like some kind of reprieve. And Pisces is the higher octave of Venus. So this love and compassion piece that I'm speaking about, where it will be coming in strong at the full moon. Venus will be going direct. All planets are direct, and we're in Pisces. We're in another version of expansion, but it can be a bit boundaryless. But the beauty of that is real healing can happen. So if you're finding in the end of February, as we move towards the new moon in Pisces in early March, you might just find that last week just a moment to just soothe and heal, and, you know, be a great time to be in water, to work with healers, to work with your creative expression, you know, to connect with spiritual practices and scripture and, you know, anything that nourishes and soothes your soul. This will be a time where, yeah, our weary souls can actually have some respite and some time out. So, and then we move into the next lunar month, which just is very Piscean, and it's like the whole tone changes again, and then we're building up to this beautiful Jupiter square Neptune, but I'll stop there. So let me just have a look. So yeah, just to wrap it up, we're facing still those hard truths. There is some movement forwards, but the new moon is your last opportunity. If you haven't already been doing this, sit, take a look, work with Saturn as the elder and say, okay, what isn't working? What do I need to move forwards? Who have I become? And who do I want to be? And to seed that in as you move forwards in the next, you know, lunar year, and to embrace that essence. Now, I'm not a Chinese astrologer, but I did have a little look at the year of the tiger, and I have a son who's a tiger. And I also have a son that's a horse, and it's really interesting. There really is, he is like this energy of the horse. It's like they can't sit still. And I remember watching his class of kids, and they were just so full on. These kids would not sit down. So there's really something to it. But the year of the tiger, we know that the tiger is like this really regal, royal symbol. So it will be an interesting year to really step into leadership, and hopefully, and I don't really know how Chinese astrology works, but hopefully this is a year where we get some great leadership in the field, and we have some great healing. So happy Lunar New Year to those of you that celebrate it, and happy New Year to all of you, and happy new moon. And I really hope you get something great out of this offering to support you to navigate these cycles and harness the patterns. And yeah, I really wish you all so well, and I'll see you next month at the new moon in Pisces.